Okay, y'all, welcome back to the show. I am pumped. I am going to tell you a little bit about why I am even putting this episode out there. If you have been a listener to You Do Woo for a while, you know what? I don't know if I've ever, when I rebranded from Aligned Designs to You Do Woo in 2021, I think since I've become You Do Woo, I don't think I've done an episode on Instagram or social media. I think that was like back in my first year and a half of business that I was taking regular social media breaks, and we're getting ready to take a social media break. I'm going to be taking a pretty long break in June. I'll give you more details later. If that's something that you want accountability on, you can reach out to me. There will be information in the show notes. But this has been a big theme in my life the past few weeks, is really looking at my relationship with social media. And I think that it's just something that I talk to almost every single person that I do a human design reading with, that is in any one of my Voxer groups, that has been in my masterminds in the past. We all sort of have this love-hate relationship with social media, in particular Instagram. I am on Facebook. It's not, I don't run my business on there or anything. I don't have the same addiction to going in and checking Facebook as I do Instagram. Maybe you're different, so that's fine. So you can take all the information you're going to learn today and resources, and you can apply it to whatever social media platform that you are having the hardest problem with, be that TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. But a few things that I've learned about social media is that it's making us less happy. We're becoming more depressed, more anxious, less just joyful on an everyday basis. I think there's a lot of different things that can lead to this, but one of those that is scientifically proven is that we have too many intense and fake dopamine hits happening throughout the day in our brain. And dopamine is a beautiful thing. It is not the actual chemical that makes us feel good. It is what gets us to think we're getting ready to feel good, if that makes sense. I'll put two article links to articles in the show notes, both by experts in this area. As far as, there's one lady who wrote a book called Dopamine Nation, and another lady who wrote a book called How to Break Up with Your Phone. And both of them describe the actual biological effects of dopamine on our brain, and Instagram versus like singing a song or dancing or getting sun. Like those are natural dopamine, um, ways that we can get dopamine, and Instagram is a fake way we get a dopamine hit. And the more dopamine hits that we get that are really intense and like not normal or natural for our body, the more our body has to produce other chemicals to bring us back down, which can actually lead to depressive feelings. And I'm not even saying like, uh, you know, depression where it's something that you need to go get medication for, which is totally a situation too, and totally okay to go do if you're in that situation, or anything leading to suicide or self-harming or anything like that. I'm just talking about like even just feeling like blah. Like I think back to before I had social media, and there were so many times of just bliss and joy and feeling like really present and in the flow. And those are much further and fewer between now since I've had a smartphone. So social media is making us less happy. Another problem that it's creating is we are never getting into a creative flow, or if we do get into it, we get interrupted. Um, because of the addiction of constant notifications, or our body being used to going and checking Instagram every 5 minutes or 1 minute or 30 minutes even. There's a beauty and a joy that comes from letting ourselves get into a flow, whether that's in work or some kind of creative activity that we're in, or just being with somebody else and like being in conversation or being in nature or something like that. It is, I mean, I'm just telling you guys this because this is one of the hardest things I have a time, like I have a hard time with this. Um, it like, and it's one thing I think that I feel guilty about it, and I notice it a little bit more when I'm with my 4.5-year-old, because that's a big deal to me. Because a lot of us grew up with parents who didn't have computers. We did like my dad would bring work home, but it was just paperwork. It wasn't like a computer that was getting his attention. And I know we had TVs and stuff, but it's really crazy. So that makes me notice it more. But even when she's at school and I'm just doing my own thing and I don't need to be present with another human being, it's still preventing me from being in flow and getting good work done and being creative. So it's pretty crazy. Another thing that's interesting that my guest from today, which I'm going to introduce you to in just a second, my guest for today and I have been talking about quite a lot is we are actually brainwashing ourselves with whatever information we're consuming through social media. When we're scrolling through the feed or when we're scrolling through stories, whatever we're seeing and hearing, we are brainwashing ourselves with. So you need to be really careful of what you're taking in. And even if it is an account, it could be my account, it could be you do woo, it could be me. I don't know. I hope not. I hope I'm not doing this. And I'm trying to be more intentional with my stories lately. But even positive, uplifting content, you could like that's what you're viewing only. You could be opening yourself up to negative entities and energy vampires, even if it's like somebody that you really respect and love and that puts out good content. And I will tell you that's not been me lately, but it has been me in the past that I've posted things out of lack or out of wanting attention or out of like the idea, not being mean, but just being like, oh, if I post this, it will make them wish they had a life like that too. And I want to give them that and I want to help them, but like creating some sort of like FOMO or envy or whatever. There's a whole episode on that I'll put in the show notes below too about evil eye. And you don't have to be an evil person to be causing evil eye either. Like I thought I had good intentions with all of these things, but now I'm really, really careful about what I post, what I say, what I repost, what I put in my stories. Y'all can totally call me out on it if you see me like screwing up and you're like, that didn't feel so good. Call me out on it. It's fine. I'm learning, I'm giving myself grace, and I'm trying to be intentional with these things. But it's really a big deal. I'm going to also put in the show notes. There was an Instagram reel from a gal. A lot of y'all probably follow her. Her name is Lori Ladd. She said to really pay attention to how your body feels before you get on Instagram and then after you're off of it each time. Like try to be intentional and try to feel into that. A lot of times with my like get logging on to Instagram, I'm like, ooh, I just want some creativity. I just want to see what's going on. I just want some like uplifting, some inspiration, that kind of stuff, which is okay, but it's still a little bit out of lack that I'm getting on there. I'm not getting on there to give, to like answer people back on DMs, to give valuable information about human design or something else. I'm getting on there to like receive, right? So really pay attention to your intentions in getting on and then really, really look at how you feel after. A lot of times I'll feel drained after. And isn't that crazy? Because you didn't even like talk to somebody, but Lori was saying that you might be looking at the most uplifting, encouraging content. And I'm probably reading this word for word, so I will cite the reel that she says this from and give her credit for that. She said there are weird energies that are attaching to people right now that start to attach to you as you watch other people on Instagram. And these energies create very odd, strange thoughts in your head. Thoughts that make you feel out of alignment, weird, not like yourself. You start comparing, you start feeling not good enough, you start feeling icky, you start feeling like you've been around an energy vampire, even if these humans are the best humans. And you might feel that from Lori Ladd or me or my guest today. I don't know. Like it's just very nuanced. So you really need to be careful about that. It's almost like you feel like you need to take a shower or a bath after, or you just feel like you have less life force energy in you. So start to pay attention to how you feel when you're on social media and who is taking energy from you. It has a huge impact on your mental, spiritual, and emotional health. Okay, that was enough of an intro. Send me an email, allison@youdowoo.com, if you're interested in doing an accountability group in June, because we are going to be doing a break. I'm doing a 21-day break. It's a little nuanced. I'll tell you more about it when you email me. But you don't have to do a whole 3-week break if you don't want to. You could do 3 days, 5 days, like our guest Sarah did, 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever feels right for you. But if you want some accountability in that, and I'm sending some pre-work for it as well, just reach out to me on Instagram, not on Instagram, on email, please, just because in case I've already started my Instagram break, I don't want to miss you. So Allison@youdowoo.com. Our guest today is Miss Sarah Tremblay. I'm so excited to have her on the show today. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, this has been a hot topic for us lately. We are currently in a 5-spot Voxer group together, and we're talking about all the things. I feel like this was the first month that I've done in a while where we didn't really have a theme, but we've been talking about Kabbalah, about human design, about Instagram and taking Instagram breaks, among several other things. But yeah, Sarah, tell us a little bit about you, just your background and all the things that you do. You're an MG, so you wear many hats. And then also why you decided to take an Instagram break earlier this month.
Definitely. Okay, so I am from beautiful Canada, Vancouver, BC. I am a manifest generator, which totally makes sense when I started diving into the human design when I met Allison, which I'm forever grateful. It was life-changing for me because I always said I was multi-passionate. I can never just do one thing. So it totally made sense that I was a man gen. Um, And I honestly decided to do this Instagram break for multiple reasons. But when I went into my personal human design reading, this is one of the things we talked about because it is like a fast-paced environment. We are hit with so much from so many different platforms. And there's no denying it, like anxiety, depression, all of that is on a rise. And I do connect that right to how connected we are to everything and we are flooded with so much. And I was really feeling those energy vampires, like what you said, that weird energy. I was feeling comparison, like lack. I was like not feeling good enough. And I want my Instagram to be a place of where I'm giving and inspiring and not from a place of take. And it definitely came from a place of take and it wasn't serving me anymore. And how I knew that was like, if I would post a reel, I was immediately checking like every 15, 20 minutes. How many likes did I get? How many views did I get? If it wasn't like a reel that got a ton of views, I would beat myself up. But the reality is, even if it had 10 views, but it was 10 impactful views, that's all that really matters.
Mhm.
And I lost that. And I lost my creativity. Like I was just being flooded with everybody else's information. And there's so many reasons of why I decided, but the biggest one was because I knew it was no longer serving me. It was giving me, if I checked in with myself before and after when I got off, it was almost like an anxious feeling.
Mhm.
And almost like, oh, I'm not good enough because we're hit with so many people's highlight reels. You only really see everybody's highlights. They're not going to show you the ins and outs of everything. And when you're constantly being flooded with everybody's highlights, their highlights of their success or like the highlight of their day, it becomes a lot. And I just knew it wasn't serving me. But I was a little bit nervous. And when Allison said, "Well, I think maybe you should do a social media break," I'm not gonna lie, panic hit, hit hard.
Yeah, it was crazy because I, for several weeks, had been giving that as homework to people to just, I mean, even like a 3 day, you know? And then I was like, wow, Allison, you're being a complete hypocrite because when's the last time you took a social media? I did take a 5-day one in April, but that was, I mean, I hadn't taken one in a really long time before that. And 5 days, I know, like I've done longer than that. And I had just been giving out that advice a ton the past few weeks. And I was like, okay, well, you need to do a longer one. If you're giving an advice to take a 3 or 5 day one, then you need to be doing like a really long one. So that's always fun as a coach to be like, okay, am I doing what I'm telling people to do? Do I either need to stop telling people to do this or I need to do it myself, right? But yeah, I think it invokes a lot of fear to take a break because it's part of our everyday life, right? It's part of our everyday life. And I know one thing that you were concerned about, which is also the same for me. And that's why I'm forcing myself to do a 21-day break to see how this goes and what results I have. But one fear that you had was one of your businesses is very much like an online business. And you were like, am I going to, you're going for a promotion, you're, going for certain goals this month and this summer. And you're like, if I take a break, what's that going to do to my results and my progress and my momentum in going for these goals? What ended up happening with your 5-day break? Like, what results did you have business wise?
Yeah, it was kind of wild if I have to say myself. So my over that 5 day period, I tracked my sales on a like daily and monthly basis. And you guys, it did not skip a beat. I actually had even a more successful 5 day period that I had in the last 60 days tracking of
Mm.
my sales volume. And was wild. I was nervous. And I was also nervous that I would lose followers or, but I gained 10 followers without even being on Instagram, and my sales were higher than they've been in a 5 day period in probably actually over a 90-day period, which is wild.
That is crazy. Okay, energetically, woo woo wise, I would say that the reason for that is that you created a vacuum. You created blank space for things to come in. And with that 5-day break, there was just it's like decluttering, sort of. There was an energetic blank space. And with the rules of quantum physics, something has to come in and fill that space, which meant more sales, more followers. Did you get, I know that you were talking about some other things that came through as well. Like, tell us a few of the other positives that came through that weren't necessarily numbers wise, followers and sales, but like mental health wise.
Yeah. Okay, first I have to say it is such an addiction because I hit that Instagram button like 20 times in the first 2 days. I
Yes.
can't believe it. But I called my girlfriend Layla and Stacy that were on this like journey of going through the human design and growing together. And I called them within less than 24 hours of the block. And I said, you guys, the biggest lesson I've learned right now is I have like creativity back. Like all of a
Mhm.
sudden I have all of these ideas of like things that I want to do to give back or post or reels because I'm not being flooded with so many like different reels where it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll mimic that and copy that. Like
Mhm.
I was back in my creative space and it literally lit me up. I was like so excited and I was writing things down to be able to like come back in a creative space and I wasn't being bombarded. So that was one really big thing and it was a great one, honestly. Um I no longer like was in like a social media comparison. I like gained my own like confidence back, if that makes sense, because I was like lacking that in a sense. And I started just focusing on my journey, my results, like my story. So the comparison mode was gone, and that was like probably the biggest one. My other one was um so my okay, so creative energy, sorry, I'm just thinking, and
Mhm.
the comparison. Um, and I was able to be more present because I
Mhm.
wasn't checking Instagram or I didn't even have notifications coming in because sometimes you're not on Instagram, but you get a notification and you just want to check it.
Mhm.
And I was able to be more present. And when I mean present, like I was always at an event, but I was literally present, enjoying and taking in that energy from that event
Mhm.
that I was at or being out in nature and I was disconnected from everything. Um, I would say that those were my biggest things that um I came back to, like that I gained from that.
I love that so much. I'm the same way with, so I haven't started my long Instagram break yet, so that'll be interesting when I do, but I'm the same with my phone. Like, so I have an iPhone and I'll go in and I'll go through the same motions. I'll check my mail. I'll check my Voxer, I'll check my WhatsApp, I'll check my Instagram, and then I don't have Facebook on my phone, so that's not a thing for me. I usually get on Facebook on my laptop, and usually for a specific purpose, not I don't scroll Facebook. I'll like get on to check my notifications or different groups I'm in or whatever. But it's like it's oh, I checked the Pattern app. That is a cool one. Okay, if you don't have the Pattern app, it's a free app and it's a mixture of like astrology, gene keys, human design, and it gives you like daily information. You can put your spouse in there if you have one. Like it's really, really interesting, but whatever. But I go through the motions. Like it's like exactly doing the same thing every day. And I find myself like there's not a problem with logging into an app, but I'm like, it's like I'm a robot. I'm like, okay, wait, I'm a human. I'm not AI. I'm not a robot. I need to stop anything in my life that's robotic, right? Like I just do. And especially with the growth of AI, I think that's one thing that is going to make humans so much more valuable is like every aspect of us that we cannot be like AI, that we cannot be robotic, that we can be not doing the same thing every day, not addicted to things, not controlled by things, and that we can be in creativity and in flow because that's something that AI will never be able to have, like that aspect of our human brain and spirit. Um, okay, I was going to ask you about so you did a 5 day break. Do you see another break in your future, same amount of time? Do you think shorter or longer? Or how are you going to put this into your daily, like your future as far as like, do you do it once a year, once a quarter, once a month? What are you thinking?
I definitely will be doing breaks. Like hands down, I came back knowing that that was going to happen, but I came back with like wanting to set healthy boundaries around my social media use
Mm-hmm.
and like checking in with myself that am I coming and going on to my Instagram for a place of giving, or am I doing it to scroll or like fill a void? And to set healthy boundaries of like timing. And I probably was on it for like 3 times the amount. Now I haven't even opened Instagram, and I probably would have been on it like 12 times by now
Mm-hmm.
in the day. But I like wrote a list of like checking in with myself. So when I came back, I said, okay, I'm a constant, most of you would not know me, but I am a people pleaser, but that is something that I am trying to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and I said, okay, it's my social media. I am not going to have it flooded with accounts that maybe aren't serving me, whether they're like energy vampires or it's just not, they're just taking energy from me, or it just doesn't feel aligned and I don't feel good that
Mm-hmm.
I gave myself permission to unfollow people, which was a hard one. I
Mm-hmm.
also muted some accounts. Not that I didn't want to follow them because this time in my life and this season, those accounts just might not be serving me or a feed that I can be watching. So I gave myself permission. I came back and I unfollowed probably 600 people and I muted accounts. And it was such an amazing feeling. So that was my first boundary I came back to. And I was going to make sure that it was always like my social media was mine. And I was going to follow the accounts that light me up
Mm-hmm.
and give energy. And I'm going to check in with myself before I get on and after. And if I get back into that lack space, comparison space, or just like mindset junk, immediately I am doing a break, whether it's a 3 day break, a 5 day break, or like a 21 day break. And I'm half tempted to do a 21 just to see how that makes me feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I originally was just going to do like a 2 day Instagram break, and then we did the 5. And I would say for the first 2 days, it's still such an addiction. You're touching it, like the button to open it, and it was giving me anxiety from being off of it. So like after the 3rd day, that's when I started getting into more of a flow. So I would say I would do nothing less than a 3 day, probably more towards that 5 days. But the moment that I feel those energies coming back,
Yeah.
5 day,
Yeah.
I'm just doing it because I have to. And one thing I actually want to mention that I actually gained is, you guys, I got back and I got time back, because you don't realize how much you spend on here. And I was able to dive into so much of my like Kabbalah homework, like learning. I did some self-development courses, stuff that I've been putting off that I really wanted to dive in and do. And I started like getting back into some of the hobbies that I've missed out on doing, because like my
Mm-hmm.
energy is drained after being on social media that I didn't have the energy to go do that. So I will definitely be doing it. It's definitely a regular practice for me.
I love that. I remember when we were voxing back and forth about your upcoming social media break, and it was so your birthday is May 5th. And it was before that, before you were going to start your break. And I was like, Sarah, I'm just saying, I think you need to do a 5 day one because 5/5 is your birthday. And I just think that five needs to be the number of days, which is cool because it seems like it was for the first 2 days that you sort of had to break that like the mental physical addiction, and then you had 3 more days of like openness to allow things to come through. So not that if you need to start with 2 days, I think starting with 2 days is fine, and then maybe doing the 5 day one for me felt really nice. It was almost like if I had only done a 2 day one, I think I would have been looking forward to get back on, and it would have just I'd gone straight back into it. And doing a 5 day one in April, I was almost like, I don't want to get back on. Like I'm okay. And so since then, I haven't been on as much. I mean, I'll get on every day usually, but I'm not like checking it once an hour where I was before. Now I'll check it a few times a day. And even like that's what I'm going to do with the 21 day break is on Wednesdays, I'm going to allow myself to get on, post that day, that week's episode, and then feel out if I want to like go through my DMs or if those are going to wait. I'm probably going to put an auto DM deal on that just says, "Hey, I'm on an Instagram break until June 28th or whatever date I pick. Email me if you need, there's no emergencies, but email me if you need anything because I'm not on here," just so that people know. Um, and then really honestly, I've talked to so many other business owners who've done either month breaks where they really didn't get on at all, or many people in the spiritual community have taken a whole year off and then they'll get back on and they'll just come on like once a week or so. That would be, I think it's fun for everybody to sort of think about what their like ideal schedule would be as well. For me, it would be my ideal schedule to clear my Wednesdays and have that day be, since it's midweek and stuff, have that day be my Instagram where I like answer DMs and do my post, and then I'm off. And then I can go just live my freaking life the rest of the time and have like an auto DM set up that's like, hey, here, because I'm a people pleaser too, and I don't like to make people wait and be like, oh my gosh, she didn't DM me back or what, sometimes I do that where I'm like, this person, I reached out and they didn't DM me back. And then you feel like how sad you were when you were in fifth grade and left out of the cool girls club and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't love making people feel that way. But if I have an auto DM, then they can't take it personally because I'm not getting back to anyone. So that would be like my total dream schedule. What do you feel like would be your dream schedule for your relationship with Instagram?
Probably my dream schedule would be like 2 days during the week and one weekend day, like
Yeah.
a Saturday. Um, just because my business is an online business and I do connect, but that's one of the other things that I think that we've also given too much power. People immediately think they have immediate access to everybody. And
Hmm.
when you don't, then it's like nothing is an emergency. Like there's going to be an emergency, but if you're messaging me on Instagram, it's not an emergency, right?
Hmm.
Like you're my family and they're going to call me if it's an emergency.
Hmm.
But we get into this pattern like I need to immediately respond and they have immediate access. So I would say probably 3 days a week, but one would be on a weekend, but probably not a Sunday. I would give myself that day
Hmm.
to allow myself to be, for me, I want Sundays to be my recharge
Yeah.
day because I have a heavy corporate job as well. So Sundays I want to be out in nature
Yeah.
because something that I've also learned about myself in this last month is that nature and alone time is what recharges me. And I've been doing that on Sundays and it's so helpful because I would have never thought that. I would have thought people, being around people is what gives me energy because that's what I kept telling myself, but I was never energetic come Monday.
Hmm.
So Sundays
Totally.
like a no Instagram day for sure. And then if I was to make a schedule, it would probably be 2 days during the week and Saturday.
I love that. Very Manny Jen. I love that. And then one thing I sort of wanted to touch on that I know you have some input on as well is so when did Instagram come out? Like 2000, oh my gosh, 9, 10?
I think 2010.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't on it though until
Yeah.
2000. I was like a late comer.
Yeah. We're both, so Sarah and I are both in our 40s. So I know I have a lot of people in their 20s and 30s that listen to this, that you probably have a little bit different relationship with it because you sort of grew up with Instagram or had it in college or whatever. So we did not. And part of that, I feel like you should be jealous of us because we were getting to live our best life. I'm just joking. Anyways, everybody had the timing of it that they needed to. But one thing I will say, I coach a lot of online business owners and people in, like, I would say like 20% of my clients are people that have network marketing businesses. And whether it's online business or network marketing, a lot of times your coaches or mentors will say, hey, you have to be consistent. You have to be on Instagram and posting, whether it's reels or a post or stories or whatever, every day to get momentum and traction. That did used to be true. That did used to be true. I would say maybe like even 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. These days, with how Meta is, with how Instagram is, you have to pay to play to really be seen in the algorithm. You either have to have like millions of followers, like truly, like a lot of followers, or be paying for ads through Meta to really get in that algorithm that we're talking about, where consistent reels and posts and stories are actually doing something. If you're not paying quite a bit of money for ads and you don't have millions of followers, then don't worry about the algorithm. Do you know what the algorithm is? Your energy, your magnetism. It doesn't matter how many people you follow. You could follow zero. Taylor Swift follows zero people, whether you love her or hate her. She's got her freaking blinders on. She is not part of the algorithm because she follows zero people. Like part of the quote unquote algorithm too is like following a certain amount of people and then having a certain amount of followers and then posting. So anyways, that I digress on that. But the algorithm is actually your energy, the intention behind whatever it is you're sending in a DM, reposting, posting original content, putting in a reel, putting in a post, whatever. It's the intention behind it. I will say there's an amazing episode called something having to do with Evil Eye. I should have looked it up. Sarah, you know what I'm talking about. It's with my mentor, my human design mentor, Jenna Zoe. And this like shook me, this whole episode, because in my past, even in this business, past businesses and this business, I was encouraged and even did many times post things to create FOMO and to create lack. And there's even times that lately I've been talking about this and I have to, like, it's so weird. So we do these mastermind groups every month, and there's the next one I'm doing, I'm going to allow more people in, but usually it's 5 women, right? And I'll like do a countdown where it's like, okay, 4 spots left, 3 spots left, 2 spots left, 1 spot left. Sometimes I do that out of creating some um, FOMO, where it's like, I want people to know that if they want to do this, those spots are going away. That's not okay. That's like putting something out there out of lack. And I could put the same information out of there, like, hey, I only have 2 spots left. And internally, my intention is like, if I don't sell these spots, it's totally okay. They do not need to be filled. I don't want anybody to feel lack, but it's literally just trans or, relaying information to you guys that if you do want in, there are only 2 spots left. We might only have 3 people in the group instead of 5. Like, do you see that there's a different in energetics? Like, it's, you can come from lack or you can not come from lack, and you can put out the same information, and it's the intention. So lately I haven't like been putting freaking any information out because I'm like, I don't know if I'm there yet to put it out in abundance versus lack. Um, and I find sometimes that then I just don't put the information out there yet. But that's also a learning curve. So I just heard about this the past few weeks in regards to Instagram. Like I was telling you about this on Boxer. One day I posted, I was at the river and I was like, we went and picked Caroline up at 3 and then came straight to the river. Like, I love this, makes me so happy, whatever. And part of me was doing it to like remind myself how grateful I am for this life. And then part of me was doing it to be like, this is so cool. I want every woman to be able to experience this if they want to. Let me put it out there. But there was like a 1% little bit of like intention of FOMO so that people would be like, make a move in some way or another in their life to like start living the life that they want. That's still out of lack. That's still trying to create FOMO in somebody else's life. So I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could go back and delete that post because, but I could have made the same post and it could have been in pure abundance. Like, but I wasn't there. Isn't that crazy? Did you learn anything from that episode? Take away anything from that?
Honestly, it was wild. I really liked that one. It made me think. But the one thing that I took from it is now before I post anything, I sit with myself and ask myself, where is this coming from? And why do I want to share it? And
Mhm.
sometimes it is, I just want to share like like I was sharing my, over the weekend, I spent some time with my nieces and nephew and I was sharing because I was just in so much abundance and love.
Mhm.
Like I was so blessed to be able to have those moments. But I've been asking myself, where is this post coming from? So I'm not as posting as frequently because if I'm feeling like it's from a place of lack or FOMO, or I'm just wanting to post to get, meaning, I'm now more self-aware. And that was one of the biggest things I took from that
Yeah.
episode. I really enjoyed it. And I never thought about it in that sense. So it was very eye-opening for me.
Yeah. And then in being a leader with your online business, how has this changed how you have been coaching the people on your team with like what to do to grow their businesses online? Like, has that changed at all?
Yes. My and like so when I now even like have a new person joining my team, I immediately am talking to them and asking, how do you want to present your business and how do you want to showcase it? I am not consistently messaging them and saying I've done an audit of your Instagram. You haven't been on Instagram talking on your story for 2 days. I'm not doing that anymore because if it doesn't feel right for them, I'm not going to force them to be on there because then it's coming from a place of like lack or pressure and it's not going to be received right anyways.
Mhm.
So that's been my biggest thing and I keep encouraging them to check in with themselves on how it feels.
I love that. Oh my gosh. You're like already such a better I mean, you've been an amazing coach and you have a beautiful large team, but like you're already up leveling as a mentor and a coach. I think just from you doing your spiritual work, right? And then encouraging others to do their spiritual work because what we are learning too in inside of the Kabbalah work is that most of our earthly results, like 99% of our earthly results come from spiritual effort, not physical effort. That's why so many people work so hard and don't have anything like what they don't reach their goals, me included. Like the times when I was just like hustling, it's like I could do that for, a year straight, working 60, 80 hours a week on my business and not have very much to show for it. But once I started implementing and prioritizing the spiritual work, is when needles start to move. And when you start seeing even manifestations that don't have to do with your business, like just more joy, more more connections with like-minded people, more ability to be present. Like yesterday, usually, okay, those of us who are sacral beings know this, generators and manigens. Sometimes we're like, I just want to keep working through the weekend. We love our work. We're so inspired, especially if you have like a career that you really, really enjoy. It gives you more energy. And sometimes the weekends are that way for me. And I've really been prioritizing being present on the weekends, but sometimes it's still, I try to be present, and I'm still just exhausted by the end of the day. Yesterday was a day where I like really practiced patience and really practiced presence. And there were even some like external things that happened that were like really intense or sad. Just that was a whole other thing. Um, but I felt better yesterday than I had in a really long time. But it was like I had done a 2 week stint of really prioritizing spiritual work over physical work. And that was the first Sunday in a while where I was like, oh, I've had a 2 day weekend where I didn't work and I feel like I still have life force energy. Like it feels really good. Sometimes projectors are like the opposite. So just, if you're not a manager or a generator, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. You probably very much look forward to your weekends and taking a break and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's pretty nuts. Okay, so I want everybody to be able to come your way. I know that you're going to do a lot more content this summer about social media breaks, about mental health. You even have one of your best friends as a reflector, and her name's Layla, and you and Layla are going to be doing like an MG reflector, whatever theme of like stuff on human design, which will be so cool. Tell everybody your Instagram handle and sort of what kind of information they can expect to be seeing from you when you do post on Instagram.
Definitely. So it is Sarah Tremblay 05. So that's my Instagram handle. You can find me there. And what you will see is probably a different, like my old Instagram to what it's going to be transitioning to, but it'll be a lot around um, the social media breaks, mental health, clarity, and then mine and Layla's like journey of going into the human design and learning more about ourselves and that physical work. Okay, both me and Layla are addicted to physical work, and this is something that we're working through, and we're going to be sharing that spiritual work is also work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a hard one. So that, and I do also just a personal, I do share a lot about fertility. So if you,
Mm-hmm.
I share a lot about being childless after fertility and how to support your loved ones through that journey. And that's pretty much what you'll see on my Instagram.
I love it. And just so, like, I love connecting people according to their human design. Just so you guys know. So, Sarah is a 3/5 Gen. She has a little bit more manifester energy, which is why I wanted to have her on the show to activate that throat chakra energy. She has emotional authority, totally open ego center, and totally open crown center, and the right angle cross of the Sphinx. So if you have any of those in common, definitely connect with Sarah too, because she might be an expander for you. She might be an HD bestie with you. And I'm really looking forward to you and Layla's little, mashups on your reflector MG besties, human design stuff. That'll be so fun. Yay. I will put your Instagram link in the show notes below too. And I look forward to seeing how this next, whatever you decide to do with it. I'm going to do 21 days, and I'm sure you'll take a somewhat of a break or like put your 2 cents in or whatever. But I'm looking forward to how that goes for us in June. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Sarah. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you.
Yay. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.